Assalamu alaikum. Today I'll be telling you that why you should play Raiders of the North Sea, a competitive 2 to 4 player game from Garphil Games, which is a worker placement game about set in the world of Vikings, where you are raiders, you are gaining resources, doing your typical kind of economic things where you place a worker to gain resources. But then the fun stuff starts when you have enough resources. Then you can go for raids in the northern region of the board to actually raid and gain more precious resources, which can be used to convert to, well, glory or victory points. So this is going to be one of the most famous games from Garphil Games, in which actually a unique mechanism was introduced, which was when you place a worker, you pick up another worker, and wherever you placed and wherever you picked, you get to do both those actions. And that was a really interesting mechanic in this one. Plus, beautiful art from Demiko is going to actually attract you not only on the character cards, but the board looks beautiful. So let me take you closer to the board to see how the game looks and show you how it is played in reality. Let's get closer. Now that we are closer to the board, you will see that this has been already populated with many stuff, and how you populate is going to be very evident from what's printed on the board. So for example, let's take this area as an example. This area showed a white meeple symbol. All the meeples, there are three kind of meeples in this game: a white, gray and black Viking. So this area showed a white meeple, and I have already placed a white meeple on it. Then it showed three symbols on it, which means three goods. We will be using a draw bag to actually pick out randomly any three goods, and the three goods that came out for this area were these ones. What are going to be the different goods? That's what I'm going to explain to you as well. There is going to be a gold, there is going to be the cattle, there is going to be iron, and then there is going to be the Valkyrie tokens, the black skulls. Now, the Valkyrie tokens is not really a resource, that just means danger. If you are raiding any area, then you are probably going to die, or your party members are going to die when they go over there. So let me put these back wherever, doesn't really matter for this presentation. But anyway, that's how you are going to populate all these raiding areas. Anything above this river area or sea area is going to be your raiding areas, and below the sea is your village, and every player is going to start in the village. What overall you will be doing is gaining enough resources in your village to have enough of food, enough of gold, enough resources for you to take a voyage to the northern area of the seas. Once you go to the northern area, you will select an area to pillage. When you pillage any area, you will be using dice to determine your rate of success, in addition to whatever rewards you are trying to actually get from a certain area. Once you gain those rewards, once you are successful, you will still raid the area, but getting more successful just means you are going to gain more glory, and glory is the victory points that you want to gain in the game. In the end of the game, whoever has the more glory, more victory points is going to be the winner. So it's mostly a Euro game, but with just one random luck mechanic added, which is the dice. But there are going to be some mayors, some cards, which can actually mitigate that luck as well. Now, coming to the cards, the game will have these different explorers, raiders that you can hire. These are your crewmates that you can take on your boat with you. So each player is going to have, other than the basic resources, they are going to have a boat, and a boat card is going to tell them the limitations of the boat, that what can they actually carry. So for example, the maximum cards and provisions are going to be, the maximum provisions is 8, and the maximum hired crew is 5. So we'll come to provisions. So for the hired crew, you can have a maximum of 8 crews that are in your boat at a time. So when you place next to a boat, then that means now they are sitting in the boat. So if you have to place more crew members in the boat, then you have to replace one of those from the existing one, because maybe you have found a better crew member than what you had earlier in your boat, or maybe a more suitable one. But you can still have more cards in your hand than what's allocated in the boat. Now let's go through a round of the game and see what we are going to do and how the game plays. Now this is a worker placement game, but there is also worker placement and worker removal. So on your turn, you are going to get two actions. You will get to place a worker, plus you get to remove a worker, and that's how you are going to actually get to do two actions in the game. So each player is going to start with one of their black meeples. Now the difference between a black, gray and white meeple. The black are your most common, your low level Vikings, your villager kind of Vikings that can do very basic kind of things. The gray are medium level, whereas the white ones are your real warriors and bigger, those who are interested in actually going for really superior kind of fortress kind of raids. But there are some advantages of villagers as well as these. So you have to see that when a Viking suits that requirement. So for example, these are indicated, your worker placement spots are indicated by a circle. So for example, if I have to go a harbor and I have a white worker in my hand, you will always be having one worker in your hand. If I have a one white Viking in my hand, then raiding a harbor is below him and he's just not interested in it. So you cannot even go, because this is showing me a black Viking and a gray Viking symbol. So that's why it's also very important to actually strategize that, okay, which Viking do I want to pull off from the board, because that's going to help me in the next turn. So the game actually lets you think about your next turns in your current turn as well. Now let's go back and take one of the turns. So one of the things that I can do is, for example, gain some silver. Every player is going to start with some basic silver coins. These are very high quality silver coins that are going to metallic coins that are going to come with the game. Every player is going to start with some of these and provisions. Silver coins are used to actually pay off the raiders to be hired to enter your crew. So for example, if I want to hire this, there is a cost given here that I have to pay him 2 coins. So even though they are in my hand, but that's an option. He has given me that I have this ability. He has given me his kind of resume. And he's saying that if you pay me 2 silver, I will join you on the boat. And I have 2 strength. But the armorer is saying, okay, pay me 3 silver and I will give you 3 strength. So then you need silver to actually get these kind of things done, other than other things for which you need silver. So for example, I do want to go to the silversmith and get these. So maybe I will be placing my worker here. Now it does say if a villager goes here, he will get 3 silver, but a high level person goes here, high level Viking, he will get only 2. So in this area, this villager is going to work by himself to actually make silver coins. So he's better as a blacksmith, as a silversmith, whatever you want to call him, than as a Viking. So that's why his efficiency is more. And I'm going to gain, based on this, 3 silver coins. And they are going to go in my resources. That's one of the things. So I took my first action. As my second action, I have to pull my worker, and I can never pull the same worker which I have just placed. So maybe one of the things that I want to do is go to take the worker from the gatehouse. I am right now in the village, so I cannot do anything above here. Is take a worker from the gatehouse. Now what this symbol means is plus 2 cards, that I will be taking 2 cards from the raiders. So at the gate, I have met 2 more workers or 2 more raiders who are willing to join my cause or my raids. So I have a warlord and a mercenary. both of which are going to cost much more, but they have their own abilities as well, and I will be coming to the topic of their abilities in just a minute. So in this way, first thing that every player is going to decide is that whether they are going to go to the town or they are going to go for raiding. Once you have decided that, then they are going to take their action. In this area, you're going to take 2 action. You're going to place a worker and take back 1 worker. And in this way, you get to do 2 actions. So one action I did was get the silver coins. The other action I did, now I have more options for the cards because now I'm getting money enough to pay off one of these raiders, and I do want to hire some crew members. Now, if I do want to hire someone, that's what this black symbol means, that I can pay off barracks. I can train someone to actually go on my boat. So if I do want to hire someone for my boat, then in my next turn, now the other player will go, then the turn will come back to me. And now again, I have 1 black with me, meeple with me, and I will be placing it on the barrack, and I will be paying off, for example, the armorer to come to my raids with me. So the armorer will be, once I pay back the 3 silver for his cost, this armorer lets me get this ability. So when I add him the same symbol which is on barracks, that when he is added to the crew, then what ability does he give? So he gives gains 2 strength when raiding a monastery. So there are different kind of raiding spots. There are harbors, outposts, monasteries, fortresses, and the more up you go, the more valuable they are. So the armorer is more interested in raiding the monasteries. And if I raid a monastery, then he's going to give me 2 additional strength. So strength is, for example, this character strength is 3. So instead his strength will become 5 for a monastery. That's one of the things I can do. The other thing I can do, so this one I have added to my crew. The other thing I can do is, for example, I'm taking a meeple from the town hall. It shows a play action. Whenever a play action is shown on my cards, there are going to be, again, each character has 2 abilities. One is a permanent ability that will happen if I add them to my crew. Then on the right side, there are going to be special play symbols available. These are one-time abilities that a card will be discarded. I have sent him to the town hall. I don't have to pay any cost for this ability, but it will happen immediately. So that's a way of discarding the card by gaining some powerful action. So for example, this one says swap an equal amount of cards with an opponent. So if I really don't like the hand of cards that I have, let's say I want to swap 3 of the cards or 2 of the card or 1 of the cards, I can swap it with one of my opponents. This one is going to let me take up to 2 silver from an opponent. So the warlord is going to intimidate other person to actually give him 2 silver. I know he needs desperately that 2 silver, but I needed to, and I don't want him to do his next turn before me. So I can take that 2 silver from him for my turn, and that's going to actually discard this card now to the discard pile, and the other cards I will keep. So in this way, there are different actions. What other actions I can do? So I told you already, the gatehouse, from which we get more cards. The town hall is where we use the single time abilities. Barracks is where we get the crew. Then there is going to be treasury. If we go to treasury, we can discard any of these cards to actually get 2 silver, or discard 2 of these cards to get a gold. Gold may not be important in the start of the game, but as you proceed forward to actually raid on the fortress, your crew member is going to demand that you pay them in gold as well, not just food, to actually go to raid a fortress. And if you don't have gold handy, then you might have to discard 2 cards to get a gold from the treasury. Then there is going to be armory. So this increases your armor permanently. You can give an iron that you get from the raids to actually increase your armor 2 times, or you can pay him 2 silver, which I do have. For example, right now I can pay 2 silver to increase my armor by 1. This is the armor track. So I will increase my armor by 1 if I pay to silver. So that's one more thing that can be done. Then the important thing that is going to be in the start of the game is going to be mill. Before I go to mill, why is armor important? Because your crew strength is going to determine that how successful you can raid. For each raid location, let's look at this outpost for example. It is saying that if my strength was 10, then I will get 2 victory points. But if my strength was 16 or higher, then I will get 4 victory points. So additional 2 victory points I'm going to get if I can meet this strength condition. Currently, what's my strength? My strength, I have 1 crew member, my total strength is 3. But if I give him some armor, then my strength got added +1. So my strength is 4. So I'm nowhere close, but a dice symbol here does mean that I get to roll a dice when I raid, and whatever will be the value that will get added in my raid strength. So it will be 3 plus 3 6 plus 1 7. So I didn't even reach the lowest level as well. So the raid isn't going to be successful. I will not even get 2 glory for such a pitiful raid. That's why I'm not ready for this kind of outpost raid, but I may be ready for lower level raids. But in future, once my boat is ready with more and more crew members, so in this way my crew members, I can increase my crew members. So now it will be 4 plus 2 6 6 plus 3 9. My default strength is 9 plus 1 armor 10, and if I go for raid, 10 plus 4 14. Oh, I still didn't reach the second most, but I did reach the first one. So armor actually gives a permanent increase to your strength. Later on, as you do raids, which I will show how the raids are going to work as well, but your crew members may die as well, but the armor always remains. So your armor is recoverable and can be given to other crew members. That's the thematic sense. So it's always a permanent strength that gets added. Now mill. In the start of the game, mill is going to become the most important area that you can go to. Why? Because to start any kind of raid, to go over the seas, the only thing that your Vikings are going to demand is that you can feed them. So they need provisions, and that's where you're going to get from the mill. So these are the provision tokens. So these are like sacks of food, sacks of wheat, whatever you want to call them. These are provisions. So if you send a black worker here, you get 1 sack. But if you send a high level worker here, they will pay him more sacks of provisions. But if you send a white worker here, they can even give him a gold as well instead of provision. So a mill is going to be a good location that you're going to start collecting these provisions slowly and have enough provisions in your resources that you can later on go for a good raid. Silversmith, we already talked about that. When you go to silversmith, you get the silver coins. The last building that we have not talked about is going to be the longhouse. In longhouse, what you can do is you can pay a cattle to get 2 provisions. That's one of the exchange rates that you can get, or you can gift to your chieftain. When you give a gift to your chieftain, then it does indicate here, these are the 3 tiles that are going to be available. These will be random every time. So for example, this one, it means the chieftain is demanding a cattle and an iron. And if you give him that, he is going to be happy and you will gain 3 glory. So as soon as you can achieve this, you will be taking this victory point token and placing it face down with you. So other than the permanent victory points that you are going to get, which will be tracked on this track, the golden track around the board, these will be end of the game triggered. So these can be hidden. Players will not know, well they will know in the start that which victory point you went for. But later on, they will not know that which victory point, how many additional victory points you have from such gifting. Now, this also leads to one of the things that how does the game end? If once you have taken this, this will go to my supply and additional one will open from here. As soon as this stack of gifts or is finished, then the game finishes as well. The last 3 tokens will never be pulled off, so the chieftain is happy and the game ends. So one of the ways that you can rush to finish the game is finish these tiles, give enough gifts to your chieftain that he's happy, content, and does not want any more raids. Now, we have discussed everything that happens in this area. We have slightly touched the raids, but let's go into a detailed review of what happens when you go for a raid. Once you have enough resources, then you are going to decide where you are going to raid. You don't have to go from one direction to the other in a sequence. You can raid anywhere that you wish to. So if, for example, you want to raid a fortress, you can raid even on your first turn. It will be a stupid idea, but that's an idea. It's a workable idea. So you can do it. But let's go for something more manageable, which might be a harbor, which might be outpost. So let's take example of, for example, this outpost again. What this outpost requires is, let me change a bit of resources so this outpost is going to indicate to me that if I'm able to successfully, all the players can clearly see all the information. What am I going to get if I raid here? That's your intelligence, that's your information. If I raid this outpost, I'll be gaining 3 let me take this monastery for example. That will be a better example. So if I raid this monastery, I'm going to get 2 goods. One will be a Valkyrie token, which I'm going to explain, and a cattle. Plus I'm going to get a white Viking. Maybe that's what I need, because I want to after that go for a bigger raid. I need a white Viking with me to lead me on a bigger raid. So that's why I'm really interested in it. If I am able to actually get 12 strength, then I will get 4 victory points. If I am able to get 20 strength, then I will get 6 victory points. In addition, the things that I require to actually raid this area are going to be 3 provisions and 1 gold. I have to pay those. Plus, I will need 3 crew members. So I do have 3 crew members. I have 4 provisions. Let's assume I had a gold as well. Bad example, but anyway, let's assume I had a gold as well. So as long as I do meet all this criteria, and also I see 2 dice symbol here, which means that if I raid here, there is additional luck available that I will be rolling 2 dice to determine my strength. So I do decide to raid this. So I'm going to take my worker, and then I'm going to place to raid this, I will be placing this here, taking this worker back with me. You will be placing this here. Well, one of the things, sorry, again bad example, but one of the things criteria mentioned here is to raid a monastery, I need a white or a gray worker. So maybe in previous turn I had raided this area, which gave me a gray worker. With a gray worker I went to this area, monastery, so that is going to let me raid now this area. So first thing I'm going to do is take off the white worker. Remember the rule, whenever you do any action, you place a worker, you pick off a worker. So I'll be picking off this worker plus these resources. To determine my success strength, I'll be rolling off 2 dice. So that's going to give me 5. But remember my armor, he was going to give me 2 additional strength if I raided a monastery. So that's 5 plus 2, 7. His base is 3, 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is going to be 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. So I couldn't reach the 20, but I did reach 12. So that is going to give me 4 victory points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll be reaching here. Once I reach here, that's going to give me victory. But the cattle is going to come to my resources. But what does a Valkyrie token do? The Valkyrie token determines that how much dangerous it was to raid this area. For each Valkyrie token, I have to kill one of my raiders, one of my crewmates. So for example, I am going to kill off my mercenary. I have to kill off any one of them. It's my choice. Now, this one does say If killed in a raid, gain 1 victory point. So by killing him off, I gain 1 additional victory point. That's why I gained that mercenary. So he will go to discard pile. So my crew is now short, but I did get an additional victory point. So in this way a raid works. You need to meet all the resource requirements. And as I said, you will be always going from below, because again there are certain requirements that you have to fulfill. You need to have medium level worker to raid the higher ones, the higher level white worker to actually go for the fortresses. On fortresses you cannot even use a gray worker. Sometimes you have to pay gold for higher costing locations, sometimes you don't. For low locations, the provisions whichever were used for this raid, so 3 provisions I had to pay off, will go away. But my scout says pay 1 less provision during raiding a monastery. So instead of raiding 3, that's why I was raiding a monastery, I'll take 1 back. So that will leave me some provisions for the future. Now remember, my armorer and scout are both a deadly combination against monasteries. So I do want to rush and raid another monastery. The other players know as well. And they will try to raid the monasteries because they know my strength, my capabilities for raiding monasteries is going to be high. They will try to raid these monastery as well. There are going to be these monastery, this monastery. So they will try to raid it and try to finish them before I get a chance, even if they get less points. And that might be one of the tactics, or maybe they want to reserve their resources to actually go for higher victory points. The third track is this Valkyrie one. So whenever you get yourself killed, get one of your raiders killed, you will gain glory from going to Valhalla. That's the concept of Vikings, that dying in battle is actually glorious as well. So you will gain glory from this track as well. Now if you see, there are going to be victory points on the side of these as well. So these are slowly going to increase, same for armor as well. So after a certain benchmark or threshold, you are going to get more victory points from this as well. So overall, that's the concept of the game. Giving a short overview again, you'll be gaining some basic resources from this area. You will be then going for raid, confirming that you meet all the requirements, gaining those kind of special workers for your future rounds, then getting the glory, going back to your basic town, getting enough resources again, whichever special resources you have gathered from here, which might be cattle, iron or gold, you might be giving them as gift to actually get more victory points, and then you'll be going for raids again. There is a criteria other than finishing these gifts. If you have raided enough fortresses, then the game finishes as well. Once these are finished, or there are no more Valkyrie tokens left on the board, then the game finishes. At that time, the total victory points are totaled up from the armor track, from the Valkyrie on this track, plus anything from your gifts, plus some of your characters, raiders are going to give you victory points based on what kind of resources you have gathered as well. So you will calculate all of those victory points. Whoever has the highest victory points is going to be the winner. Now that you have seen how the game plays, seen a sample round as well, you might understand that why I'm a fan of this game. I love this worker placement game because it's easy for anyone to understand. Okay, you place a worker, you take that action. You pick up a worker, you take that action as well. But the real fun of this one is going to be for those strategic thinkers, because once you have placed a worker there, you have blocked it for the next player. So if somebody really needed those provisions for the next player for his next raid, and you have just placed it on the mill, he is not going to gain provisions through the mill at least. And you can block workers and create that really kind of tense situations in the game. Plus this game lets you think multiple rounds ahead, because you have to plan for your raids diligently. You might need additional workers, you might need additional gold, you might need additional provisions. enough crew, enough strength of the crew, enough armor to actually reinforce your crew if you are going to be successful at that raid. Because you can hurry up, because you can also see the other player is also collecting resources, and those seem to be the kind of exact resources that are required for the place that you are trying to go for. So do you want to rush right now while you have less strength and fail at getting the victory points and just empty it out to stop them from getting the goods from there? At least you will get the goods. Or do you want to actually strengthen up your team, strengthen up your crew before you go for the raid? So those kind of decisions are going to be always so much interesting in this game. This game has so much interesting twists and turns that you have to be engaged in everyone's turn and looking at what resources they are gathering and what are they planning to do. What are the, for example, gifts right now available? Oh, he has 2 gold right now available and 1 cattle. If he gets 1 more silver, he's going to get a 5-point victory point gift tile. I cannot let that happen. I have to snatch that tile before him. Or do I want to take that advantage while he's busy in doing that, snatch something entirely something different? The Valkyrie track presents a whole different nature of problem in itself. Why? Because, well, you are gaining victory points and those increase exponentially as your crew dies. So first one dies, nothing happens. The second one dies, you get 1 victory point. But your 6th one dies, you will be getting around 10 victory points. So it exponentially increases. Your 7th one dies, you are going to get 15 victory points. So, but killing your crew members does mean that you will be collecting silver in late game stage as well, just to get enough crew back on your boat to actually go for fortress raids. So do you want to take that risk in wasting additional turns, because each turn is going to be very valuable? But maybe that's a strategy you're going for, because you have already calculated, if I go to fortress, I'm going to get 7 victory points from here. But if I let 2 of my more people die, then I'm going to get a delta of 16. So I'm going to just collect all the Valkyrie tokens and finish the game in that way and not let anyone go to fortress. So the multiple endings of the game are going to actually give different players different strategy concepts as well. And that's why I think this game has so many options that are going to present in different ways. Plus, the goods are always going to be pulled out from this bag. So maybe sometimes the harbors are going to have good goods. Sometimes the fortresses are going to have really bad items, but you are just going there for the victory points or glory that you want from them. So a lot of replayability can be have through just the base game. So in my opinion, it is a highly recommended worker placement game. If you are looking for a really good worker placement game, then you cannot go wrong with Raiders of the North Sea. A good Viking themed game, beautiful looking colors, doesn't look like a Euro game, but it is a Euro game at heart, with some raiding mechanics added, which might interest even the Ameritrash crew towards this game as well. So that's why I cannot praise this game enough. One of my favorite Garphil games, Raiders of the North Sea. That's it for me. Happy gaming.